I have a feeling, Jamie, when we do our Friday night recap, so the day 2-3 or the round 2-3 recap, and we talk about winners and losers from the NFL draft. We're going to be talking about a lot of veteran running backs as losers. This is a really good running back class. It's deep. We may even be talking about this from the day 3 picks because it's such a deep draft class of running backs. And there are going to be some veterans that they're going to be shakeup. There's going to be shakeup at the position.
Oh, I agree. I think Thursday night. I mean, I would not be surprised if starting with number 3 overall, not necessarily the Giants, but number 3 overall, that Ashton Genty comes into play. And then Omarion Hampton comes into play. And then maybe we get a surprise third guy in round 1. You're right. Most of it is going to come on day 2, which is where I think a lot of the capital will be spent on the position. And I know we're going to talk about that later this week. But I would not be shocked if Bears trade up to 3, 4, or 5. Raiders trade up to that spot. They're all kind of, from what you're hearing, jockeying to get there. The Broncos potentially could make a significant move to move up to get Genty, although that'd be a little bit more of a surprise just considering where they're coming from. But we could be looking at, man, it was so awesome that 3-week period of Jaylen Warren being the starting running back for the Steelers, or how exciting it is for DeAndre Swift to have been the guy for the Bears with Ben Johnson. Those are the type of guys that are going to get replaced. The thing that you don't want to see is one of these high-end guys, Judkins or Henderson from Ohio State, or maybe Caleb Johnson, or, we'll get into a little bit more of the other guys, but, go to a Baltimore, right? And they're looking for their Derrick Henry replacement, but that guy matters this year. Or, one of those type of scenarios, the Rams go out and draft somebody because they're still trying to find a complement to Kyron Williams, or the Bengals surprise us. One of those things where there's somebody that's really headed toward a nice, clear path to being the featured guy, and we're all happy about that. But oh crap, they just added somebody. So I was having a conversation with a Giants fan today, like, why don't they just take Genty at 3? And just take the, if they're sold on their defensive line, right?
No, they're
And
not. They shouldn't.
I know they're not. I was really trying to just give the guy some crap, but
Okay.
if they're sold on their defensive line, like, why not pass on Carter and take Genty if you're saying that these are Hall of Fame caliber players, right? I think Carter clearly a better path to get there because of the position he plays. If he's dominant, he can be dominant and easily be a Hall of Fame caliber player. Not that you want to put that projection on somebody right now, but like for Genty, it's going to take a significant ask at that position to be generational.
And I don't want, you say you don't want to see these guys end up in Baltimore. That makes sense. There's one spot that I would not like either from a fantasy standpoint, and it's Arizona.
Yeah.
Because if they draft someone in the 2nd round or something like that, it's probably going to be someone who's better as coming out of college as a prospect than Trey Benson, right? Benson was in a bad running back class, kind of a boomer bust type of player on a carry-to-carry basis. Not a bad player or anything, but what does it mean for James Conner? It's like, he's not Derrick Henry. It might be someone that actually eats into his production, but it just would make things so messy. It would make James Conner, I think, kind of hard to rank. Whereas if the Ravens draft someone, I don't really think it's going to have much of an effect on how people feel about Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. The interesting ones for me were going to be like, prior to the Saints quarterback situation, you were hearing that if Genty fell to 9, that might be an option for them.
Oh,
So
yeah,
like that would kill Alvin Kamara, for example. So I think any of these high end guys, especially the older ones, Houston with Mixon, right? Because we don't think they have necessarily a backup guy there. The Ravens, they're talking up Keaton Mitchell again, but you can see that in a loaded running back class for a team that is as smart as they are, they may go get their running back of the future, and have that position solidified. I was going through all of Kyle Shanahan's meeting with the media, and he was asked about his backfield now, moving on from Jordan Mason, and they have continually drafted a running back, whether it was Trey Sermon or Tyrion Davis Price, whatever his name was.
yeah.
Isaac Guerrero last year, we didn't think they needed somebody, and he became, clearly now very relevant. So they just continue to do this year over year of draft at that position. And how early do they draft at that position? Because I think they do need somebody else, moving on from Mason and Mitchell, and knowing that Guerrero and McCaffrey are not necessarily the pictures of health. Like, they may go out and get another player to add there. So those are the things that are going to be really telling. And then there's probably going to be a team, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos drafted 2 guys.
So let me ask you this. Well, first of all, let me take a break, and then I'm going to ask you about which veteran running backs would lose value. We'll be right back on FFT Express. All right, Jamie, let me ask you this. I'm going to give you a running back, and you tell me what kind of value change there is. 0, a little bit negative, or a big hit. If his team drafts a running back on day 2 in round 2 or 3, bring up one that you already mentioned, Joe Mixon.
Minimal.
Isaiah Pacheco.
I'd be surprised at this point, but significant.
And this is, again, what would happen to these players if their team drafted a rookie running back in round 2 or round 3? Devon Achane.
Minimal.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Significant.
Tyrone Tracy.
Significant.
Probably decent chance Tyrone Tracy would not be the highest ranked Giants running back, right?
Probably not. Yeah. I think that, like, the teams that are standing out to me that are not the obvious ones, because, like, you can see Denver, you could see the Raiders, you see the Bears,
Dallas, right?
Huh?
Dallas,
Browns. These are teams that all need starters, and, like, Pittsburgh is the one that I have circled because I really want to see Jaylen Warren in that role.
Me too.
But it would be so surprising if they don't add depth. Like, Kenneth Gainwell can't be your number 2 guy at this point.
They don't have a second-round pick, Pittsburgh. It doesn't mean they can't trade in. They have picks in 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So keep that in mind for Pittsburgh. How about 1 or 2 more? Washington.
Significant.
And they don't have a third-round pick, but they have picks in rounds 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7. The Commanders only have 5 picks. There was a report, though, that they'd be looking to draft a running back in this draft. And how about, let's see. How about Carolina?
I'd be surprised at this point. So I'd say minimal. Just knowing that they signed Rico Dowdle, I know it was cheap, but they did give Chuba the big contract last year. They drafted Jonathan Brooks. I don't think they're giving up on him just yet. So I could see, like, more of a day 3 than a day 2 guy.
All right. It's really going to be very interesting, and I can't wait to see what happens. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching and listening. This is FFT Express, and we will talk to you tomorrow.